Gold is trading between $5,300 and $5,600 an ounce. That is the price flashing on the screen this morning, January 30th, 2026.
Right.
Now, if you turn on the television, if you check the mainstream financial feeds, you're going to hear the standard talking points.
The comfortable ones.
The comfortable ones. They're calling this a technical breakout. They're calling it a hedge against inflation.
Which is, I mean, it's a fundamental misreading of the data. It's a comforting lie.
Exactly. And that is why we are here. Because when gold hits $5,000, we aren't talking about an investment strategy anymore.
No.
We are looking at a vote of no confidence in Western civilization.
Correct. The data indicates this isn't retail buying. This isn't your neighbor buying a coin.
No.
This is sovereign buying. Central banks are dumping U.S. treasuries. They're dumping the dollar for physical bullion. They are physically removing the trust mechanism that holds the whole thing together.
The system isn't just inflating. It's breaking. Welcome to the deep dive. I'm looking at a stack of intelligence reports here that, frankly, reads like the script of a disaster movie.
But it's not.
It's all verified, hard data. We have the United States seizing oil assets by force in South America. We have China purging its highest-ranking generals for treason.
And the wealthy have stopped spending.
And the people who usually keep the party going, they've stopped.
It's a convergence of signals. This is neural pulse. Let's analyze. We are looking at 3 distinct layers of collapse today: kinetic, economic, and personal.
Let's start with the kinetic, the hard power. Because while everyone was, distracted by New Year's celebrations, the Monroe Doctrine just got a very violent update.
It did.
Walk us through the January 3rd operation in Caracas.
This is the first major data point of 2026, the Jan 3 operation. On the morning of January 3rd, U.S. Special Forces conducted a direct action raid in Caracas, Venezuela.
And the objective was?
Specific and total: the detention and removal of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores.
And by all accounts, this wasn't some clumsy coup attempt like we've seen in the past. This wasn't mercenaries on a beach.
No, it was tactical perfection. Joint Special Operations Command, JSOS, executed a surgical extraction. Maduro and Flores were out of the country within hours.
But the critical data point isn't the raid itself, is it? It's what happened right after.
Exactly. The vacuum was not filled by an election. It was filled by an appointment.
And this is where the narrative gets messy for anyone listening with, an idealistic view. Because there was a Nobel Peace Prize winner waiting in the wings.
Maria Corina Machado.
Right. She swept the popular vote. She is the darling of the international community. She even dedicated her Nobel Prize to President Trump. Logic dictates she takes the reins.
Logic, perhaps, but not interest. The U.S. backed the immediate installation of Delcy Rodriguez as interim president.
Delcy Rodriguez. For those who don't follow the intricacies of Latin American politics, who is she?
She's the former vice president under the old regime. She is a bureaucrat, a pragmatist, and, crucially, she controls the administrative state.
She knows how to sign the paperwork.
She knows where the bodies are buried, and she knows how to sign the paperwork. She is not a Democrat. She is an authoritarian who can execute a contract.
And that is the pivot point.
Yeah.
The United States looked at Venezuela and decided it didn't need a democracy.
No.
It didn't need a Nobel laureate making speeches about human rights. It needed a gas station.
Precisely. Look at the financial flows. Within 48 hours of Rodriguez taking power, assets were unfrozen for Chevron and ExxonMobil.
And the official reason was humanitarian aid, I'm sure.
The press release mentioned purchasing hospital equipment. That's the cover story. But the strategic reality is the expansion of Chevron's production capacity by 50%.
So we're seeing the United States acting not as the world police, but as a transactional empire.
Exactly.
We removed a headache Maduro and installed a manager, Rodriguez, who would keep the oil flowing. So why now? Why was the timing so critical?
It is an insulation strategy. The Middle East is increasingly volatile. The Strait of Hormuz is at risk of closure. The U.S. requires a secure energy flank in the Caribbean.
So with oil at $65 a barrel, that's an artificial price.
Very. It's only that low because of a flood of non-OPEC supply. If the Middle East goes offline, the U.S. needs Venezuelan heavy crude to keep the North American economy from grinding to a halt.
It's a resource grab. The Monroe Doctrine with a silencer. You use the word insulate. If you look east, that insulation is burning off. Let's talk about Beijing. We are hearing reports of a purge. It's biblical.
The situation in Beijing represents a critical fracture in the People's Liberation Army, or PLA. On January 24th, President Xi Jinping ordered the removal of General Zhang Yuxia and General Liu Zhenli.
And just to put this in context for the listener, these aren't mid-level bureaucrats. These aren't regional governors.
No. Zhang was the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. He was Xi's childhood friend, a fellow princeling.
So in American terms, this is like
the president arresting the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the Secretary of Defense on the same afternoon.
the official reason given is discipline violations, which is the standard party code for, what, corruption?
Usually. But the Whisper Network is saying something much darker. Corruption is tolerated in the PLA? This feels different.
Because it affects readiness.
It points to a massive counterintelligence failure. There are credible allegations that nuclear program secrets were leaked to the United States, specifically details regarding the rocket force.
The unit responsible for China's entire nuclear arsenal.
Their whole arsenal.
So we are not talking about someone skimming money off a construction contract.
Yeah.
We're talking about the blueprints for their doomsday weapons ending up in Langley.
Correct. If true, this implies the Chinese strategic deterrent, their entire insurance policy, has been compromised. Xi isn't just cleaning house, he's panicking.
He doesn't know who he can trust.
He's stripping the military leadership down to the studs because he has no idea who is loyal.
This changes the calculus for Taiwan significantly, doesn't it? I mean, a military that's arresting its own top generals for treason, it's not exactly primed to launch the most complex amphibious invasion in history.
It creates a paradox. It lowers the immediate risk of a coordinated strategic invasion of Taiwan.
Because the chain of command is in chaos.
Exactly. You can't fight a war when you're decapitating your own leadership. However, it exponentially increases the risk of an accident.
An accident.
A paranoid superpower, convinced its nuclear secrets are stolen, is a dangerous animal. The dragon is eating its own tail.
Right.
When leadership feels cornered and compromised, they may misinterpret a standard freedom of navigation exercise by the U.S. Navy as a prelude to a first strike. The threshold for engagement just drops.
Volatility is the new standard.
Oh.
Speaking of which, Ukraine, we are 4 years into this war. The numbers from today, January 30th, are just staggering.
The data from the Ukraine front has crossed a grim threshold. On January 30th alone, just today, Russian forces suffered 1,310 casualties.
In one day.
And the total casualty count is now estimated to exceed 1.23 million.
1.23 million people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the population of Dallas, Texas.
Oh.
Gone or maimed.
We're seeing a shift to industrial-scale annihilation. The tactics have devolved. In a single 24-hour period, 123 guided glide bombs were dropped.
Explain the glide bomb for the listener. We hear the term, but why is it changing the game?
It's a retrofitted weapon. They take a standard, dumb gravity bomb, huge explosive power, very cheap, and strap wings, and a guidance kit to it.
Which allows them to
drop them from 40 miles away, well out of range of air defense. It's cheap, it's destructive, and it obliterates fortifications.
So on the Pokrovsk front, where we saw 87 infantry assaults in one day. They're just pulverizing the ground and then sending waves of men into the crater.
Exactly. 87 assaults in one day isn't strategy. It is feeding bodies into a furnace. It proves that in the 2026 calculation, human life has zero value.
It's a war of attrition, where victory just means being the last one standing on a pile of ash.
That's it.
And yet, for years, the markets in the West just ignored this. It was background noise. But that is changing. Which brings us to the economic signal. The financial safety net, the famous Fed put, is being withdrawn.
The Fed put is the market's belief that if stocks drop too much, the Federal Reserve will step in.
They'll cut interest rates, print money, save the day.
That belief died this week. President Trump has nominated Kevin Warsh to replace Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve.
And the markets hated it. They tanked. Why is Warsh such a boogeyman for Wall Street?
Because Kevin Warsh is a hawk. In central banking terms, a hawk prioritizes fighting inflation over keeping stock prices high. He represents a return to hard money.
So the administration is making a choice.
A very conscious choice. They're going to save the U.S. dollar by crushing inflation, even if it means crashing the stock market.
This is the end of easy money. For 20 years, every time the market sneezed, the Fed printed cash. Warsh is the signal that the party is over.
They're going to let the forest fire burn to save the soil.
And the interesting thing is, the rich, the actual oligarchs, they already know this. You just have to look at LVMH.
LVMH stock crashed 8% this week. This is what economists are now calling a rich recession.
A recession of the rich.
Exactly. LVMH owns Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy. When their stock plummets, it is a leading indicator. It means the global oligarchy has stopped consuming.
They're not buying the $5,000 handbags.
Or the vintage champagne. They are hoarding cash and gold.
That is a terrifying signal. When the people who can afford to burn money stop spending, the real economy is about to freeze. The smart money is moving into bunkers and bullion.
And it isn't just the economy. The very supply chain of our digital existence is compromised. You mentioned a hack at Luxshare.
Right. A name most people won't recognize.
No, but they should. Luxshare is a primary assembler for Apple and NVIDIA. They are the ones actually building the hardware.
So they are the hands that build the iPhone.
Yes. They were hit by a ransomware group called Ransom House. But this wasn't just a lockout. The hackers stole 3 years of data from 2019 to 2025. We're talking about schematics, product designs, intellectual property.
And IP is arguably the only asset the West has left. We don't make the things anymore, we design them.
And now, those designs are floating on the dark web.
What does that mean, practically?
It exposes a critical vulnerability. The hackers have the engineering blueprints. This means zero-day exploits, security holes the manufacturer doesn't even know exist yet, are now much easier to find and weaponize.
Though the devices we rely on for everything, for banking, for communication, their security is compromised at the manufacturing level. There are no secrets anymore.
Only delays in replication. It means the digital layer of our lives is just as porous as the physical borders.
Okay, let's pause. We have been in this situation room. We've looked at the maps. We've seen the rot in the military, the cynicism in the economy, and the vulnerability in tech. Now I want to pivot. I want to move from the macro to the micro. I want to talk to you, the listener, because right now you are probably thinking, wow, the world is crazy. You are thinking this is a movie you are watching.
It's a common cognitive dissonance. People view geopolitical collapse as a spectator sport. They worry about the economy or national security, but they don't realize those are just terms for their own checking accounts and their own front doors.
Exactly. If you're listening to this, you are likely operating on outdated assumptions. Let's break them down. Assumption number 1. The U.S. will protect the global order.
The Venezuela raid disproves that. The U.S. protects itself. The message from Caracas is clear. If you are in a country that doesn't offer immediate strategic value like oil, you're on your own.
The cavalry isn't coming.
Not unless you have something to trade. The U.S. has moved from a guarantor of global security to a competitor for global resources.
Okay. Assumption number 2. My savings are safe.
We start the show with gold at $5,300. That price implies a massive devaluation of fiat currency is happening in real time.
So if my money is just sitting in a bank account,
if your wealth is in a savings account earning 4% interest, while the currency devalues by 20% against real assets like gold or land, you are being liquidated.
you just don't feel it yet.
The number on the screen hasn't changed, but its purchasing power is evaporating.
And assumption number 3. The rules still apply. We're seeing Japan and South Korea actively pursuing nuclear submarines. The nuclear taboo is breaking.
That is a significant development. Following the U.S.'s tacit approval for South Korea's nuclear propulsion program, Japan is now having a very serious, very public debate about acquiring nuclear submarines.
Wait, Japan? The country with the pacifist constitution.
Fear overrides policy. The argument in Tokyo is that with China's naval expansion and North Korea's capabilities, conventional diesel subs are no longer sufficient. They need the unlimited range of nuclear propulsion.
Think about what that means. For 80 years, a nuclear-armed Japan was unthinkable. Now it's a policy debate. If nation-states are arming up for doomsday, breaking their own sacred taboos, why does the listener think their local police will hold the line during a grid-down scenario?
It brings us back to the concept of fragility. We rely on just-in-time delivery for food, a fragile grid for energy, and a digital banking system for trade.
And all those layers are compromised.
The Luxshare hack shows the digital layer is porous. The Venezuela raid shows the energy layer is violent. The gold price shows the financial layer is losing trust.
So we have to serve the listener the hard truth. This is the part of the briefing where we stop analyzing them, the governments, the armies, and start challenging you. The era of outsourcing your survival is over.
The institutions that were designed to act as a safety net, the central banks, the supply chains, the international treaties, they are failing. Or rather, they are retracting to save themselves.
The Fed put is gone. The American umbrella is closing.
Right.
When the grid fails, or the currency resets, or the supply chain snaps, the only government left is the individual, you.
So the listener needs to stop asking, what will the Fed do about inflation? Or what will the army do?
That's not the question anymore.
The relevant question is, what will I do? If the banking system freezes for a week, do you have the liquidity, the cash, the gold, the barter items to survive? If the power goes out, do you have a plan for water and heat?
Are you a victim waiting to happen? Or are you a warlord of your own life? That sounds extreme, I know, but look at the gold price, look at the casualties in Ukraine, look at the purge in Beijing. The world has already turned extreme.
You're just the last one to notice. The vacuum is here. The space between what used to be and what is coming is where we are living right now.
And in a vacuum, you either expand to fill the space or you get crushed by the pressure.
Interpret the silence accordingly.
Neural pulse. Clarity in a complex world. Decide your move.